Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the recoil patterns in the game, just in general, how they've kind of been buffed and nerfed recently, and then also maybe like a little bit about visual recoil and the fact that aiming isn't very consistent, but I'll get more into that later on. So for now, I want to talk about recoil patterns. So there have been a couple of nerfs to a couple of guns that haven't been direct nerfs. They've been like kind of indirect nerfs because it doesn't change, you know, like the fire rate, the mag size, or the damage of the weapon or anything like that. It just changes the visual recoil. Well, the recoil pattern, rather, not the visual recoil. And so the FCAR was changed very, very recently, and then a little while ago, the Lewis gun for the heavy was changed. The M60 was also buffed slightly, and the FAMAS has been changed for a third time recently as well. And I don't like recoil patterns being changed. I'm not really a huge fan of recoil patterns in general. Like, I can I can deal with it, but I'm not the biggest fan, right? So I really quite dislike that the recoil patterns for weapons are being changed here, and I just think that it's going to be harder for casual players, and for hardcore players it's just going to be like a slight annoyance, right? Because there is already a skill gap. You don't really need to add a skill gap in this game. Having like good aim is pretty hard to do, and then having like very, very good game sense is just like something else that you have to have, and then there's going to be a skill gap just from that, right? And like knowing what's meta and team coordination and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's already a big skill gap in this game. I don't think there needs to be a further one by making recoil patterns harder, which is what's happening here. So if you're a casual player and like, you don't watch these videos or anything, and you don't really know about the recoil patterns or anything like that, then you're probably just going to have a harder time hitting your shots with the FCAR. But anyone that is watching this video, and anyone that is like, in the plats or diamonds of the game, are probably going to know that the FCAR's recoil pattern has been changed. They're probably looking at the patch notes, and they're just going to be able to hit every single shot with it. If they've got like 300 hours, they play the game every day or something, and they, go into the practice range, spend like 10 minutes there practicing the recoil of the FCAR, they're going to destroy the casual player in that fight, because the casual player is going to hit maybe, 8 shots, and the hardcore player is going to hit like 20 out of 20 of those shots, right? Just because of the recoil pattern. And I don't think that that's very good. I think it just kind of divides the player base a little bit further. And it is a hard recoil pattern with the FCAR as well. It's like quite difficult. And the thing is, it's okay when it's a 20 mag sized gun. There isn't so much to that, right? That's fine. But when you get to the AKM with its 36 mag size, I don't want to have to memorize 36 little micro adjustments to my aim while I'm doing that, right? The AKM doesn't have a hard recoil pattern, to be fair, but it's still quite annoying. And now I can't use the Lewis gun or the M60 because that has 47 and 70 little micro adjustments to my aim that I'm gonna have to learn if I want to be able to hit shots with these weapons. And like, I just can't do that. I might as well just use the flamethrower, right? Because I don't want to have to learn all those micro adjustments, so I might as well just use the flamethrower, which doesn't have anything, but it's simply not as good. Right, and I don't think that's really great. I would almost prefer it if every single gun just shot straight and then the damage numbers were just adjusted. I think that would be great. If every gun just went completely straight and then the game was purely like aim and game sense, I would be perfectly okay with that. There'd be less of a skill gap, but there'd still definitely be a skill gap. But I think it would be good to balance guns. What I'm trying to say is I think it would be good to balance guns from the damage numbers, or the mag size, or the fire rate, or something like that, even the damage fall off range, instead of balancing guns by using the recoil pattern. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's very good to change the recoil patterns kind of willy-nilly, which I think is what we're seeing here. I think if you're going to buff a gun, buff the gun. If you're going to nerf the gun, nerf the gun. I'm not really a fan of these indirect nerfs, and I don't think it's good for the casual player base, and like, it really is just a slight annoyance to more of the hardcore player base as well. So I don't really see the point. Like, the FCAR is still super strong. If you're still gonna run this FCAR and you know how to aim it, this is still like one of the best weapons in the game. It's just that casual players are gonna have a much rougher time with it, right? Yeah, I think I've kind of talked enough about that now. Now what I want to talk about is the guns are very inconsistent. It's like there's an option in the in-game settings here that's gonna say something like center dot. It's probably gameplay crosshair. center dot is here. So I've got my center dot on. There should be an option, at the very least, to have the center dot always, always, always on, so that even when you're in-game and aiming down a sight, you can still have that center dot on. And I think that should be there, because every single gun always goes towards the center of the screen. It doesn't go where the crosshair is, it doesn't go where the iron sights are, it goes towards the center of the screen. And so, sometimes, with some of the weapons, the iron sights aren't aligned properly with the center of the screen, and then it's just like really, really hard to manually override not looking at the iron sights and deliberately try and look at the center of the screen, especially when you don't even have like a center dot or anything to help you with that. So that's another thing I'm not a fan of. I think either make the bullets come out of the iron sights of the weapon, so even if my gun is like over on the left-hand side of the screen here for a second, just because of recoil or something, I think that's where the bullet should come out from. But if my gun's over here, I think the bullet should come out from there as well. But if my gun's, you know, got a little bit of kick to it, and I'm aiming like here on the screen, it's still going to go towards the center, right? And I don't think that's great. I think either the bullets should come out of the iron sights of the gun, so what you're aiming at is what you hit, or the iron sights should all be aligned to the center of the screen always, and visual recoil should just be eliminated completely. It feels really, really, really bad. Having the crosshair going towards the center of the screen and you not having a center dot. B, the gun's not going towards the center of the screen, because then you've got to like fight against that. And then C, also dealing with a recoil pattern on top of all of that. So you've got to manage the recoil, and then you have to try and keep the recoil in the center of the screen. And then you have to try and like manually override the iron sights for the gun. Because, you know, aiming where the iron sights are isn't going to be the center of the screen. It's going to be close to the center of the screen, but it's not going to be the precise center of the screen. So I just kind of wanted to have a little rant about that. I don't really like the direction it's going, where like the recoil buffs and nerfs, I think that's like a way of kind of tiptoeing around the issue. I think if they wanted to nerf the FCAR, they should have nerfed the FCAR. Same with the Lewis gun, same with the M60, but that was a buff instead. Same with FAMAS, even. I think the FAMAS was changed like 3 times already since the launch of Season 2. I think you should just buff and nerf the weapon normally. Like, originally, how the FAMAS was originally, where it just like shot super duper straight, like on launch of Season 2, that was perfectly okay. I didn't see anyone complaining about the FAMAS being like super overpowered or anything. Like, no one used it, because the FCAR was just still better. And this had no recoil. And now the FCAR has been nerfed, and the FAMAS has also been nerfed. But like, there is also no reason to nerf the FAMAS when people are still just using the FCAR, or even the AKM. Like, it's not that good of a weapon, right? It was hard to hit those shots at close range. You could hit shots at long range, kind of, in like originally when there was no recoil on it. But in the closer ranges, it was still super hard to hit shots, and that's where the FCAR or the AKM would be better, right? So I don't know why this was nerfed, and I don't know why the recoil pattern is so like zigzaggy now. I think if you want to buff a weapon, the weapon should be buffed. If you want to nerf a weapon, the weapon should be nerfed. And I'm just not really a fan of changing these recoil patterns. It is hard to learn them again, especially when there's like 47 or 70 bullets in the mag, right? That's a lot of learning and relearning you have to do. And then again, you're fighting the recoil, you're fighting the center of the screen, and you're also fighting the iron sights of the gun. So it just makes the gunplay feel a little bit bad, I think. I would almost prefer it if everything just always went towards the center of the screen, and your iron sights didn't move. And, you know, I don't mind if there's recoil patterns or not, but I think if they're going to keep the recoil patterns in, they need to, like, stop changing them. But I also would be completely okay with recoil patterns just being completely gone, and every bullet just always going towards the center. At least, like, they could do an event or something where they try it out and get player feedback. I think having, like, no recoil in this game would be very, very, very interesting, because then it would definitely be more to do with game sense and just aiming, and I think that might be quite cool. But that's just a personal thing. I know a lot of people would probably be against that as well. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of talked about everything that I wanted to talk about here. I think if you're going to buff a weapon, buff it. If you're going to nerf a weapon, nerf it. Recoil patterns aren't very fun. Visual recoil isn't very fun. And the iron sights not being aligned also isn't very fun. And I do think that like just a really, really nice quality of life change here would be center dot, and then just have like an option beneath here that says like center dot always on, and you can like just flick that on. So even when I'm aiming with like the FCAR and I've got the scope, I'm still gonna have that center dot, and that's gonna be like so useful for something like the AKM. It might not look great because then you might be able to tell more so that the iron sights aren't properly aligned, but at least then I'm going to be able to hit shots with the AKM, right? I don't think that would happen, but I would absolutely love it if that would happen. I think it would be a lot better. Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say, I think. Maybe this is a little bit controversial, or maybe there's a lot of like my own opinion in here, but I think that the recoil patterns aren't very fun, especially when stuff's changed so much, and like the Fakar is still going to be super powerful for anyone that knows how to use it, and for someone that hasn't went and learned the visual recoil pattern, they're probably still going to use it, honestly. They're probably not going to switch to the AKM. For a casual player, they're probably still going to go with FCAR, and it's probably just going to be more annoying, and it's just going to like feel slightly worse for any casual players, you know? But yeah, there you go. I don't know, just a little bit of a rant video, really. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.